face a fight, be strong, give it all your might.
Data Squad.
Reach your soul, and you will reach your goal. Prepare to Digimon. Never surrender, never be outdone. 'Cause the challenge ain't over, we've only just begun. Digimon.
Finals suck, being sick sucks, and being really, really cold sucks. But all of that aside, here I am, back at home for the holidays, and so I think it's finally time for us to finish what we started, and despite losing a review in the process, we're going to finish off the Digimon trilogy for this year. And the game that I've chosen to do that with is probably one of the worst ones that I've played in quite a while. This is Digimon World Data Squad. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Digimon Data Squad, or Digimon Savers as it's known in Japan, was the 5th season of Digimon, and the game is licensed to take place within that universe. And as far as I'm concerned, we're already starting off on the wrong foot, because this is my least favorite season of Digimon that I've watched all the way through so far. And I've watched all 5 that have come out in America. Now, just to clarify, this season wasn't terrible. It did have its moments, but in terms of characters and story, it felt like the weakest in the series to me, and I just didn't get as much enjoyment out of it as I did other series. I'm not going to go in depth about it. That would require a full review, and I'm not prepared to talk about any of the Digimon seasons, at least not yet. But for right now, let's take a look at Digimon World Data Squad, the game that is apparently based off of this series, and the best part is, we can just throw the series out the window when it comes to this game, because apart from its characters and setting, it has nothing to do with the series itself. This is an instance where the original Japanese title of the game, Digimon Savers: Another Story, probably would have made a whole lot more sense than the English title it was given. But of course, Digimon World was a recognizable brand in America, so it does make sense that they would change it. It just doesn't make sense in terms of the game itself, as the game's plot is more of a reimagining or even a what-if story that takes place within the Season 5 universe, but has nothing to do with the main plot of Season 5. This left me very confused when I first played it, because I was expecting something along the lines of the original story, or at least a side story to the main plot, but what I got was a wholly original story that ignores the main plot. So, the story of this game actually involves Marcus, everybody's favorite idiot, being sent to the digital world to take out a potential rogue Digimon and his minions. However, during the mission, something goes sour and he's suddenly confronted by a mega-level Digimon known as Creepymon, who is one of 7 Digimon associated with the 7 deadly sins, and he is decisively defeated. However, Creepymon, instead of killing him, decides to let him live. It's more than I would have done for him, that's for sure. However, while this is going on, there's a side plot involving children being kidnapped by devil-like Digimon all over the city, and it becomes apparent pretty quickly that the two plots are actually interconnected. And so, there you have the plot of this game. Defeat the 7 deadly sin Digimon and rescue the children that they've kidnapped before they use their combined powers to completely obliterate both the real and digital worlds. And no, I'm not trying to be funny here, that is actually the extent of this game's plot. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on characters here, because if you've seen the show, you will be pleasantly surprised to know that despite the changes that were made to the overall plot, the game is actually very faithful in terms of the characters. They all have the same personalities and the same quirks that were introduced in the show. However, for somebody like me, who didn't like the show mostly because of the characters, that can take a bit of my enthusiasm out of this. In fact, they went so far in keeping these characters the same that they actually did get the exact same voice actors to reprise most of their roles here.
I'll deal with you. Let's do it, Agumon! Fighting time!
Of course, this being a reimagining of the main story, you can expect to see some original characters pop up as well, but they aren't nearly as interesting or fleshed out, and considering how paper-thin some of the characters in this game are, well, they're not that compelling. Now, to appease the Season 5 fanboys, because I know there are some of you out there, I will concede that at least the series did attempt character development, which is something that this game does not. All the characters are pretty much kept at the exact same place throughout the entire game, and what little character development there is for these characters, well, it's just about as cliché as it can get and has no bearing on the overall plot. So let's just jump right into gameplay, and I'm going to say outright that many of the complaints I made about the Mega Man X Command Mission RPG can also be applied to this. Many of the areas are extremely small and very short, and there's not really a whole lot of exploration that can be done, but they feel extremely long and drawn out, mostly due to some extremely meaningless puzzles and an annoyingly high encounter rate due to the random battles, which I'll get into in a little bit. This problem just continues to escalate until you get to this particular area where you're probably going to throw the game against the wall in frustration, because, trust me, you're going to be spending a majority of your playtime in this one particular area, due to its combination of platform-moving puzzles and an encounter rate that will slow the game to an absolute crawl. Now, while the random encounter rate in Command Mission was annoying, the battles were at least fast-paced, but in this game there is no such thing as a quick battle. Here, everything feels extraordinarily slow, and this is due mostly to the way that they've written the attack script. You see, here's how it works. Every time a Digimon takes a turn, you will get several commands appearing in front of you, and you'll notice pretty quickly that a majority of those commands are just copies of the same attacks or actions a Digimon can take over and over. The more times an action appears on screen, the more the Digimon wants to use that particular move. If you choose a move that a Digimon wants to use, then the relationship between the Digimon and trainer will get better, which will actually factor into the Digivolution system, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit. However, this slows the game down significantly, and it also has the drawback of meaning that you won't always have access to moves that you want to use, because it depends on a Digimon's personality what will show up. For example, you will not see the flee command unless a Digimon is afraid that it's going to get killed in combat. There are also other commands that they can use, such as special guard commands that may up their stats, and there are also some techniques that the Digimon's partner can use, such as compliment or cheer up, that will alter the Digimon's personality or attitude. But for the most part, it's just such a hassle trying to balance a Digimon's personality and get them to want to use the moves that you want to use. Because most of the time, they'll want to use a move that you don't want to. But if you don't use the move they want to, then you're going to get in the wrong with them. And that